That was super loud to me and my ears.
Wow.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, I am Adam Johnson.
Here in Greensboro, North Carolina, I am Dan Ray.
It's another podcast day.
Yet another day in the salt in the content mines.
Yep, just churning out,
picking
just the
hot, podcasts off the walls. Yeah,
hot, steamy content. How's your week gone, man?
My week's been pretty decent. Major rain tonight, so if the internet craps out on me here at my house, the podcast will end abruptly.
We are thundering outside my area as well. On that note, I did want to send my, our love and support to all the people in the Cedar Rapids area. We do have a pretty large network of listeners there, and they just got this crazy storm blew through 100-mile-per-hour winds. That's not a thing that happens that I'm aware of.
Me neither. And it just blew over the whole city, blew it over. Yeah. And what's really weird is you and I both were totally unaware of it until our boy Mike Schulte hit us up on Facebook and said, "Man, everything's crazy here." And we're both like, "What?
Yeah,
is it?"
But yeah, the pictures are devastating.
Seriously,
it's like a hurricane blew through town, but they're in the middle of they're completely landlocked.
Yeah, well, it did. It was 100-mile-an-hour winds for 6 hours. It was a straight up hurricane. Yeah,
it was crazy,
ridiculous.
So, I'm sure that if any sort of support fund or anything pops up, we will be sure to share it and make sure that our listeners get to, send their well wishes and support that way. So, just wanted to throw that out there. Speaking of support and listeners and stuff, we had quite a week, didn't we, Dan?
Seriously, the numbers, and Adam and I are both numbers junkies. We follow the stats of this podcast like it's our next meal. And this week was really something.
So yeah, we've in the past 13 days of this month, we have surpassed every other month this year in total numbers.
Yeah.
So,
and our theory is that it's a gig gab effect.
I mean, it very well could be.
I think it has to be.
It's a very interesting spread. It's not like a bunch of people downloaded our last episode. It's a fair amount of people downloading all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you are a new listener, I want to welcome you personally. Thank you very much for checking it out. If you don't know where to start, I would start at episode 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. The first 15 are very solid, very core centric things to our ethos and the kind of stuff that we really are about. And that is where you're going to that's the make or break deal.
For
so
sure.
if you're looking at 115 some odd episodes, you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Start at 1 or 2
yep.
and then see how far you make it.
Yeah,
if you make it to 15 or 20, I think you're in.
We really did start with a mission. I mean, we started with a message we wanted to say, and I feel like by 15 or so, we had essentially laid out the bones of it. So that's
yeah.
You just gotta, you're gonna have to plow through our production values, which were pretty darn amateurish at the time.
Hey man, we're still having those.
That's true.
Hiccups and stuff now.
True.
I think I finally got a bunch of stuff figured out over here in the podcast dungeon. So, this is a new camera, different mic setup. My whole signal path is different. So hopefully that sounds better. I know the last couple of weeks we've had this weird, I sound like I'm far away in some
it was like you were gated. It was like there was a noise gate on you that was really aggressive and we couldn't, I don't know. It's much better today. Much better.
Yeah. I agree. I sound better to myself
Good.
as well. So
that's important.
Any gigs?
No. A couple of things. I have an acoustic gig with the duo, Cold Iron Ray, at Odin Brewing here in town in Greensboro on Saturday, day after tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And starting just an hour ago, it began raining and is not forecasted to end raining for the next 14 days.
Okay.
Including Saturday. And in fact,
feels like a lot.
It does. This is standard late summer North Carolina. This is not unusual. But the hourly forecast puts our gig hours right at there's 90% chance of rain as of now, 3 days out from that. And so we will probably be pushing that back. He has a covered back deck that we could play on, but that, if they're kind of trying to be an outside organization these days. And so if it's raining hard and there's not a lot of people, it's a weird thing to do. So we probably will push back and hope that it blasts through faster than the than the weatherman says. Now, I do have some plans about streaming something a little different than I've been doing. So in terms of playing, I've been doing a lot of streaming. I've had a fairly regular standing Friday night thing for the last several weeks. And it struck me that really I miss my band like crazy. I miss my band so much. It's been 5 months, maybe almost 6 months since I've seen them now. Because we didn't play right up before lockdown. It was
I'm in the exact same.
Yeah, it's brutal. And so all I've done is acoustic, and I really am missing electric and that great scream of the electric guitar. And so I am going to try on my next live stream at least a small subset of playing to track.
Okay.
And so I have worked out playing. So I play my tracks off of Band Helper. That's how I do it live. Live in a room with people who are in the room with me.
Yes.
I've worked out how to and I've got a karaoke version and gotten versions without guitar and vocals. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the horn or synth or whatever that I would normally fly in. It's everything but me. And then I had to work out the timing of Band Helper on my Mac playing the audio through my device, through my interface, into my in-ears, back through the loop back into my DAW or OBS.
Yeah.
The fact is, OBS has this ability to put millisecond delay on each individual audio track and on the video. And so I was able to dial in the timing of all of that coming round trip to my ears and my guitar and mic all back in and hitting OBS at the same time.
Wow.
And it's it's to the millisecond. I made a lot of videos of me like clapping, watching myself clap and like dialing in exactly when the clap happens.
That sounds like fun.
It was fun actually. And I'm excited to try it. And I'm open to the feedback from my audience that it's a dumb idea. But we'll just see. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. We are still in the throes of coming out with a new version of the software that my company makes.
Yeah.
And I'm eagerly awaiting a beta because if it does what they're saying it's going to do, it's going to be a big deal. And as far as like streaming stuff that I've figured out, here's what I got myself a really inexpensive camera capture card on Amazon. It was like $17. That particular model is anywhere from like $8 to like $40, depending on the vendor. But right now I'm using my GoPro Hero 3 Plus, which I don't ever use for anything ever, as my camera source for that. If I buy a second one, I can then also use my Canon T2i and then have like 2 shots. I could do like a multi-shot, which would be pretty cool. But because I had never used the GoPro as like a camera other than like in its little case, I'm using 2 Sega Game Gear cartridges to prop the camera up in my camera mount.
It's high tech.
And I have because of friends who know that I'm like an 80s nut, I have 2 Sega Game Gears in my basement and along with a Game Boy.
That's excellent. Yeah, you got to figure these things out.
A little inside baseball.
Yeah. I will tell you, I have my streaming setup has this Logitech webcam that those of you watching this on the stream are looking at me through, and then the webcam of my MacBook, which is over there looking at me. And so I have a two screen setup here. And so I've set it up to rotate between them when I trigger it to do that. And I have noticed that viewer retention is significantly stronger when there's that kind of camera activity happening. And
production value.
Yeah, production values or just interest or I don't know, something. I'm no more interesting. Just how I'm being shown is different, and it becomes stickier. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're learning so much about the whole like interaction deal with with people out there, and I need to get back into streaming. I haven't done one in a little bit. There's quite honestly been more important things to handle. Yeah. We go back to school on Monday. And that is a whole ball of wax we're still trying to figure out the logistics of. So,
in person?
Yeah. Yes, we're going with a private school that is being very, very strict and very, very expensive about everything.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I, as a full-time employee of my company, can teach my 5-year-old kindergartner to read.
For sure.
I think I need to let the professionals do that.
Yeah, that is a job for pros. We should probably pay them like pros too. Just that's my pitch for the night. Yes, we're going back on Monday too to the North Carolina Virtual Academy.
Okay.
Which we didn't know anything about how Mondays, log into something, I guess, but we had no instructions until today, the Thursday before the Monday when class is supposed to start. And what we heard from our teacher friends in the district is that they had not yet gotten their assignments as teachers into that yet.
Yep. There are similar things happening down here.
I mean, it's not like we haven't had months to think this through. I don't know. I have
Let's talk about other things, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, let me just one last thing about that. I have not so much faith in the organization of education. I have a ton of faith in individual educators. So
100%.
I think when there's a teacher involved with a class, things are going to work. But
100%.
Until then, it doesn't seem to be very well. So.
I agree. So we did a thing other than a podcast episode this past week.
Ooh, what?
Well, we did a little demo of a little thing.
Oh, you and I did a thing. We did.
Yes, we did. It was on the YouTubes. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, you definitely should. We posted it on Monday. We're already over 100 views. People are actually, are looking at it and sharing it and checking it out. And there's also, if you haven't watched it, I think you definitely should, because I think there's some really interesting stuff there. But if you did watch it, or if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. And then there is a survey that you can fill out after you watch it to we just need to figure out what's going on with it. Is it just a fun idea that, Dan and I can fiddle around with, or is this something that you guys think is valuable, something you would want to use? Dan actually hit me up today about a couple of things that we've already added to the system. So just kind of interesting stuff.
Yep.
So we've got all kinds of different categories of things. So we can talk about speechiness and valence and danceability, but now we have banger status.
That's right.
Fist pumper.
Dance floor filler.
Dance floor filler. What? There was another one, wasn't there?
Oh, banger. Did you say banger?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was the first one.
Sing along.
Sing along. Yeah. So what we're slowly trying to do is kind of build up a feature set that is appealing, and maybe spin it out as a separate product. No, we have no idea.
Yep. For anyone
Maybe
who
it's just
wasn't
a fun
on the episode last week or hear about this or see the video, I have built a thing that analyzes chart data to try to help automate or at least steer some decisions in setlist making. And so it has a name. I bought it a domain name today.
Yeah.
Setlister.ai.
Say it again.
Setlister.ai.
Nice.
Yeah. Because it actually has some AI components in it. There's a part of the tagging part with Adam was just talking about some of the tag names that we came up with. Is going to drive, at present, a naive Bayesian algorithm that does prediction of classifications. And so you can give it some examples of what you consider to be a banger, quote unquote, and then it can dip into the archive of songs going back to 1958 to find you things that
bang.
Yeah, bang. Yeah, things that bang.
We should check to see if She Bangs shows up under banger.
Yeah.
That would be something.
Yeah.
And then, as we're kind of slowly figuring out what this looks like, you should definitely check out the demo. If this is something that you're interested in, hit us up, fill out the survey. But I think we are also considering opening up some of our user base as a very small, very kind of primitive beta network.
Yeah, because part of the thing is all of those machine learning things need people to teach it stuff.
Yep.
And so we'll need some people to come teach it some stuff.
So if that's something you're remotely interested in, hit us up at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. That would be super cool. And then, if we do end up spinning this up, we do have some stuff that we're going to have to put some money out for. So we do have a PayPal account. We have a Patreon account. And we'll probably need to rethink the whole Patreon support tiers. We probably need to, that deserves another look.
I guess.
And how we can add some stuff, some value to that.
Yeah.
So just some stuff to think about. And we got merch too.
Mm-hmm.
I think a couple of those shirts have finally landed with those people. So
very cool.
Anyway, were there any other housekeeping things we wanted to talk about?
I reserve the right to come back to it, but for now, no.
Fantastic. So I am going to go to a fan email. This comes from Tim Beecher. He sent us a message earlier. It was yesterday. He goes, "Good evening, guys." So he knows that this is when we do this.
Yeah.
"Let me start out by saying I found your podcast about 2 months ago and I love it. I like the chemistry between you two and the fact that you guys actually cover good topics that are relevant to me and my band, as with, I'm sure, lots of other cover bands out there. So
Thanks.
I'll take that. Nice work. I'm trying to catch up. I'm in a 90s centric 3-piece cover band called Unoriginal Gravity. Follow them on Instagram at UG the band. And we play a lot of breweries, wineries, festivals in the Finger Lakes area of New York. We've been around about 4 years. He's good friends with Sammy Swanson of the Handsome Young Ladies. So if anybody hasn't checked that out, we interviewed him very, very early on. And he encouraged me to get into singing about 6 years ago. We have a regular set of venues we play multiple times a year, trying to expand our influence. I know thanks to you, my band is in need of some fresh social media updates, new videos, some new merch, and some branding work. I'm the guitarist / singer / harmonica player and love what I do. However, my big question to you guys is,
There it is.
Suspense is killing me.
Big questions.
Where do you find accurate tabs, chord charts when you choose a song? I go to Ultimate Guitar or other internet resources, but they're hardly ever 100%, and sometimes they are straight up terrible. That makes it hard for me to learn a tune on my own. It's such a simple thing, but straight up, I don't know what my options are. Is it worth it to sign up for a paid subscription service? If so, which one? Before I started doing things more by ear, I would learn a song based on the highest rated tab on Ultimate Guitar, then head to rehearsal, confident in my new ability, only to find out it was just wrong enough to be useless and detrimental. Thanks for any help you can provide. Rock on. Best regards, Tim Beecher from New York.
Thanks, Tim Beecher from New York.
Yeah, 100%.
And the Finger Lakes.
From the Finger Lakes. I keep thinking of that, what's that? The SNL bit where they redo the Lawrence Welk show and the girl's got the tiny hands.
Oh, I'm thinking of the episode of the Office where people are interviewing for the boss job and what's his name? The bendy guy, the comedian, the guy with the face.
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey, yeah, comes in to interview for the job, and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be in the Finger Lakes right now. My family's up there. We're on vacation. I'm just snuck down here to have a job. Have you ever been to the Finger Lakes?"
He's Canadian, so he's got that.
He knows
that accent down pat. So, I guess we could talk about a couple of specific things, but I think the best place to start is how do you learn songs?
Well, bad news. For the most part, I learn them from Ultimate Guitar, and
so. Yeah,
it is true that a lot of them are hot trash on Ultimate Guitar. If you want precision, if you want accuracy, but the best I have ever found is a songbook, a printed, written songbook, often dedicated to a particular artist. And you go to the music store. You find them on a rack at the music store, and somebody's actually sat down and really written them out. And a lot of times those are very, very accurate. I'm not going to spend that kind of money or time.
Not unless you're doing like a full-on tribute and like wanted to.
And then you might. Yeah. Here's the beauty of hot garbage lead sheets from Ultimate Guitar. It's really great ear training.
Yeah.
Because you got to know that what you're getting there is questionable, and you have to sit down with the original. You cannot, I've certainly experienced it too, where you think you have it because the cheat chart that you got says this, but man, they transposed it and didn't tell you, or they dropped out some of the colorful chords, or, it's like the cheap version with cowboy chords rather than the interesting things, or whatever. First of all, hearing that difference is an important piece of growth as a musician.
Yes.
And, I think if you can think of that as an opportunity rather than a liability, that's probably your best bet. So, if you factor in time and money, in my mind, that's certainly your best bet. How about you? What do you do?
So I've got a couple of things that I typically dig into. First of all, I've had this for a couple of years, so I don't know if it's the case or not, but I pay for the annual Ultimate Guitar membership that lets you use like their app and pull stuff up on the fly and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I find that for lots of songs that are very, very popular, they have what they call official like tabs and charts.
Yes, that are done by them professionally.
Yes.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
I have found those to be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of pieced out. So like if there's two guitar parts, there's two guitar parts there. That's definitely it's the closest thing to the thing you're already doing.
Yep.
And like that membership isn't, I think it terribly expensive. And, if you do any sort of work that gives you tips, you could easily pay for it in like a single gig.
Sure.
So I'm a fan of that.
I actually bought a lifetime membership on that sometime back. They were running a deal, and I just bought it, and it got rid of all the ads and all the things people complain about it, and so worth it.
Sweet. So there's that. Another one that I use a lot is karaoke version.
Yeah. So
if you go and you buy a track with the custom backing tracks that you can get at karaoke version, you can mix them however you want to. So, and this is something that I've talked about with our musicians, trying to kind of figure out best ways to help them prep. What I have done is I have a Google Drive that has learn files for all of the positions in the band. So what I do is I'll go in and I'll mix a version that has everything turned down to like 10%, but the bass is turned all the way up. And then I bounce that and call that, Jesse's Girl bass learn. And then I'll do the same thing for guitar. And if there are guitar parts, maybe I'll pan them hard left, hard right, so you can kind of hear them, kind of be able to pick them out. And again, you're using ear training, but you're using ear training kind of like on steroids, because you don't have to be quite as critical, because we're getting rid of all the extra noise. Yep. So I do that a lot, depending on, the dynamic. Like if it's for members only, I definitely do that, because I want to make sure that what I'm playing is me staying in my own lane and not stepping on the other guitar player's toes. Beyond that, I use YouTube a lot, because at least for the line of music that I'm in, there are lots of guitar tutorials for those particular songs.
Yeah. And a lot of those a lot of those YouTube teachers show you very authentic positions and voicings, and they pretty much do it as it was recorded. A lot of them. So
if you're into 80s guitar at all, you need to check out Ben Eller. He refers to himself as Uncle Ben, but like he will dig into a song, like dig into it.
Cool.
I watched him do a 30 some odd minute tribute to pedal riffs in 80s hair metal songs. So like slice the pie, slice it, slice, like as razor thin. Mm-hmm. That was the angle that he went for. And I don't know if Ben listens. If he does, or if you are in the Knoxville, Tennessee area, he has an 80s band aptly titled Skank Banker.
Nice.
So if you're ever in that area and we ever see shows again, check out Ben and Skank Banker out in the clubs.
Very nice. Skank Banker.
That's pretty much it. Otherwise, I'm just listening to the song and like picking it out myself.
Yeah. I mean, the temptation with all of these resources out there in the world is to be lazy and just download it. And, I think I can probably do that one time in 5, maybe, but the rest I have to doctor a little bit. I have to fix, I can hear that they're not writing that sus2 that's really in there, or something. That's the most common thing I hear is simplification of chords that, just take away from the quality of the thing. Sometimes it's just dead wrong. Sometimes it's, you find things in there that are upvoted up high with wrong chords, just wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, the community's so large, like it's very easy for that to kind of be the case. I feel like a lot of these are like kids in their bedrooms listening to the songs really loud and like just playing along with it, be like, this is it.
Yeah. I can't hear myself over the album, but I'm probably close. Yeah. I built a chart and put it up there. Did I tell you that?
Yes, I think you did.
I did. It was just a gigolo.
It was a big,
and I was pretty thorough about it, and it keeps getting 5-star votes. So
there you go. Good. And that's another great thing. If you've got some spare time and you want to contribute to that community, because it is community driven, make your own.
Totally.
And on another note, there's another one that I've used. I don't use them quite as much anymore because I feel like they've kind of fallen out of favor, but Guitar Pro files. Yeah. Where you download like Tux Guitar Pro, and like it's the same kind of idea as the official ones where they break them out into individual spots. And I still have a cache of them somewhere on like my iCloud drive that I could fire up if I really wanted to dig into something. Like if I really wanted to learn Holy War by Megadeth, I know that's definitely
sure. Sure. Why wouldn't you? But and I say lazy. We're all lazy. Laziness is a virtue on a certain level.
Well,
I don't want to.
You can call it laziness. You can call it, a quest for efficiency.
Totally. Yeah.
Because like that's what it is. It's the maximizing the efficiency of my time versus the time that I have available. Right. So you can call it lazy. You can call it, half-assery. Whatever. Like that's basically what it is.
I wouldn't, but the point is that, you
wouldn't call it
half-assery? I wouldn't. No.
Yeah. We use it all the time in our house.
Sure. No,
We've
sure.
got a 10-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I have to call him on that. The point is that
room.
it's as a musician, you grow when you learn songs. When I was first taking guitar lessons, my teacher had a bunch of lead sheets in a folder, and he'd bring out copies, and that's how I learned More Than a Feeling and just a bunch of Wrapped Around Your Finger came off of paper that he handed me back in 1980. I won't say what, but we'd also I'd come in with songs I wanted to learn, and we would sit down and pick them out together, and like learning how to hear those chords and learning how to follow the bass and when the bass is doing some figure and when it's actually stating the chord. That's all really important to learn. So, I would dedicate a little time to that. I think it's important.
Yeah. I mean, when I was teaching, that was one thing that I did is, if you wanted to learn a song, my kind of like process went like this. You had to learn all of your major chords and all your minor chords. So A, B, C, D, F, G, major and minor. And then we would start learning songs. And what you do, at least for younger players who are just kind of getting a feel for it, you have to keep it interesting. You want to kind of propel them to continue to pick the instrument up. Yep. And what happens is that you get these opportunities when you're teaching teaching songs to these kids that you sneak the theory in. Like, oh, do you want to know why this sounds cool?
Yeah.
Well, it's because of this, this, and this. Right. And that's always been that was how I always taught it. It was it felt effective.
Yeah. Well, boy, look at what that chord's doing right there. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well, what?
Isn't it cool how it makes you like how it kind of tenses up and then it then it resolves itself. What is that all about? Like, what does a 7 do in a chord?
Yeah. Oh, look, we're following the circle of fifths with this thing. Look at that.
Ooh. We never did that.
Forgot that far.
Talked about the caged sequence. That was always fun.
Caged is good.
Yep. We never really we don't do a whole lot of theory talk around here, but it's I mean, in the worship world, you kind of have to figure out ways to play very simple songs differently because there's always 2 guitar players. You're like, well, I've got to play it some other way.
Right.
So I'll just do these D and F forms up higher up on the thing.
Sure. Yeah, knowing those voicings is really, really cool, especially when you can stay in the same position and change voicings in one spot. That's just a great trick. It's a great trick.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, man, that got way nerdier than I was expecting.
I know.
So yeah, I hope that, I think that covers the most of it. I can't think of any other ways other than just asking people, hey, how did you do that?
Right.
How do you do that? Speaking of that particular process, I don't know about you, but I like Van Halen a fair amount. But I think my favorite Van Halen song besides like Hot for Teacher is Drop Dead Legs.
Love it.
And that song is like very controversial because like the process, how he plays that riff, it's one of the coolest riffs of all time in my opinion.
So much groove to it. So like in the pocket. Yeah.
And so the way that it's played, there's a lot of people think that he's using the Floyd a lot, but it turns out that like he doesn't use it at all. And so like that's another one of those things where like people think he's doing it one way and he's doing it some way else. So all of the instructions are wrong. But Ben Eller, again, I was watching one of his and he's like, here's how you play Drop Dead Legs. And I was like, that makes way more sense. And just to kind of like hit home when there was that period of time where like Van Halen was playing a lot on TV and Drop Dead Legs was one of the songs that they played. And when Van Halen played it live, Eddie was playing a hardtail. So there was no, it wasn't even, there was no Floyd to be used. So, really sealed the deal.
One of my track songs for my next stream is Wicked Game, Chris Isaak.
Okay.
And I don't have a guitar that has a trem, so I have to approximate it with bends. Yeah.
I've got, the PRS has one and the Steinberger has one, but I don't ever use them.
I don't much.
Yeah, it's useful for certain things, and I always wanted to get a guitar with a Bigsby, but I have no functional use for one.
Yeah,
Other than it looks
They
super
look really
cool.
badass. They really do.
Super cool.
Yeah.
There was a limited edition Fender custom shop deal where they took the appointments, because Fender bought Gretsch a number of years back, and they made a fully hollow body Telecaster like a white Falcon. They called it a white chicken.
Wow.
And there's literally like maybe 10 of them in the world. I did find somebody on AliExpress that's making them, and I was tempted just to have one, but like it probably played like hot garbage. So yeah, that's that kind of wrapped up. I do have a couple things that I forgot to talk about.
Let's do
want to
them.
bring up.
Yeah.
So had a couple of inquiries about playing shows come up all of a sudden.
Right.
One of them was one of them I will bring up next week. By the way, next week we are doing another interview with a guy named Finn McKenty, who has worked with bands like Periphery and a lot of really big hitters. He has a really cool YouTube channel if you're into punk or hardcore music or metal, called the Punk Rock MBA. But he's a really fascinating, great social media strategist guy. And I've been following his stuff for years, and I feel like some of the stuff that he's been implementing has started to pay off, and that kind of ties into that story. So we're going to talk to Finn next week, and I'm super stoked on that. So be on the lookout for that. The other one that came in was I was approached by a band to do some sub work. The same one that happened that we were talking about earlier on in this situation with those two September dates that ended up falling through. They hit me up again for another date. And the situation was it's a one-off show, a 4-hour set with a break in Avalon, New Jersey. And it was going to be a Saturday night, but it was a full weekend with travel on Friday and Sunday, with like covering hotels and that whole thing. And that was fine. But the pay plus the situation versus all the travel, like just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't justify it.
Yeah.
Now if I were a younger man and, had like really wanted to get out there, it might've been tempting, but like just looking at it objectively, just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in this particular case.
It wasn't private school money. So
it was not, that one gig wouldn't even cover a single week of that.
There you go. Hey, listen, while we were chatting here, Steve Witchel's in the comments saying, "What's up, fellas?"
What up, Steve?
Mr. Steve. Hope the arm's feeling better.
Yes, sir. If you don't listen to the Cover Band Central podcast, you definitely should. They're hitting just about the same kind of numbers we are as far as episodes go. They're over 100, aren't they?
Yes. To think that somebody would listen to this and not be aware of the Cover Band Confidential podcast or Cover Band Central podcast is hilarious, but
either way,
it could be.
Thanks for tuning in, Steve. Yeah. Appreciate you. So yeah, there was that, and then we've got some stuff potentially coming up in October. Drive-in stuff.
Good.
And had an inquiry come in yesterday about that, and we're trying to figure out the details. Other than I literally gave them a price, and that's the last that we talked about.
That's an important step.
Yep. And it could be something kind of big. So I'm fingers crossed that it works, because it may be one of the only 2 or 3 shows we do this year.
Right.
So, right. And it would be on the level that like we want to do and that we're comfortable doing. So right. Very excited about it.
I have not yet got a chance to play around with my radio transmitter. I know a couple of people have reached out and said, "Hey, did that thing work?" And I don't know yet.
No clue.
Because it's sitting over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start procrastinating about it later.
Yeah, it's like I came down here and updated all my helices to 292, and I think I played around on it for maybe like 3 minutes. They're both plugged in, like they're literally like ready, rip roar, ready to go, and I just nothing.
I went to 291, but I haven't done 292 yet, and it came out months ago, and it's been COVID attention. I can't sit for that long.
I updated to 2.9, and then I tried to update to 2.91, and it crashed my Helix LT, and I freaked out, kind of like locked up, and I was like, "I'll just leave this be for now," and then updated it just recently.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to need it for my Wi-Fi stream with electric, so I'll have to get that update done.
There you go.
Yeah. Very cool. Steve says we should do a mashup like we did with Gig Gab. We should. It'd be fun.
Yeah, for sure. We, yeah, I mean, this is, we're all kind of like looking around going, I mean, what are we doing? How you doing?
It's getting a little barren down here in the content mines.
Yeah, we may have gotten to the bottom here. But yeah, I'm looking at some YouTube stuff, trying to find some fun ways to kind of engage. I got some fun ideas that I'm trying to work out.
Yeah.
I've got this weird idea that I have nothing to do with, like, because there's no relevant channel to do it, but like, I thought ASMR for Vikings was a funny idea. So it's like a guy in like a fur coat, but like whispering
about Viking.
You have value. You can pillage better than anybody. Like scratch the mic.
Blading of your beard is the most beardy.
No one's beard is as bloody as yours.
Biggest axe of all of the things.
I don't know. It was just a funny idea.
I really don't know, but it's a fun idea.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, guys, I don't know about y'all, but I think we nailed it.
I think so too.
Feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
This is way better than last Thursday, where I took a ZQL the night before, and like it hadn't worn off the next day, and I lived like my entire day on hard mode, where like nothing, like my brain just didn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, this feels much better. So guys, thanks again for tuning in. Do all the things that we suggested earlier on to support us. Let us know if you're interested in that whole beta situation, coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our interview with Finn McKenty. And if you haven't checked out any of his stuff, you should definitely check out the Punk Rock MBA on YouTube, or his personal channel if you're into social media strategy or entrepreneurial stuff. He released a video today on hashtags that if I hadn't already done the thing that he had suggested I do, I would have done it immediately. But I already had.
There you go.
So thanks again, guys. We'll go ahead and call it for this week. From Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
From Greensboro, North Carolina, Dan Ray.
You've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, episode 115. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. If you want to help us, be sure to share us with your friends, follow us on social media, and if you haven't already, please leave a review for us on the podcast platform of your choice. Facebook.com/CoverbandConfidential, Instagram @CoverbandConfidential, and Twitter @CoverbandConfid. If you have any questions, please email us at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com, and consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/coverbandconfidential. And for more info, check out www.coverbandconfidential.com.